day and night. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto death. Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants. What happens is his plan is thwarted in relation to Israel. Now, with that in mind, go back to Daniel, and I'll build on that a little bit. But in the end time, I don't have the time to go into the whole thing there in Revelation 12. But what happens is Michael stands up to defend the people of God. He has a war in heaven. He wins the victory. Satan is no longer the prince of the power of the air. He's no longer in heavenly places. He's cast to the earth. The major battle is over. While he's only got a short time here, he overruns the earth. He does everything he can to destroy the people of Israel. But they are protected for a time, times, and half a time. 1,260 days. Both of those indicating 3.5 years. They're protected for that time. And when this army goes out to try to destroy them, the ground group opens up. They're all swallowed. Now, Michael seems to be in charge of this whole operation, a special defender. He's going to stand up. I think here that the reason this seems to be kind of emphasized here is because, again, we're talking about at the end of all of this stuff, there's hope for Israel. There's hope. And so here is to let the people know in that time that there is going to come a time, there's going to be a day when, when you're going to be blessed and you're going to rule and reign and all that. So that brings us into what I'm calling the third point, a special deliverance. Look back in verse 1 again. And at that time, there's that word again, that phrase, thy people shall be delivered. Israel will be delivered. Jeremiah chapter 30 says that. After it says there will come a time of trouble such as never has been in the history of the world, it says, but we shall be saved out of it. In Jeremiah chapter 30, verse 7. Verse 11 says, for I am with thee, saith the Lord, to save thee. In verse 17, that's in Jeremiah 30. I will restore health unto thee. I will heal thee of thy wounds. There's coming a time when Israel's going to be delivered. And it's going to be in that same time. Now, you may be thinking, why is the Lord dealing so severe with them? Well, you need to understand what Israel, God chose it. They were the chosen people of God. But they did not fulfill the purpose for which they were chosen. And over again, hundreds of years, they rebelled against God. They refused the Lord. And then when their Messiah came, that had been prophesied throughout the Old Testament, when their Messiah came, they not only rejected him as their Messiah, they crucified him. I mean, they crucified the very Lord of Lords and King of Kings. I mean, this was a dastardly thing they did. Any of you ever been to Israel? You ever been to the land of Israel? Any of you? All right, so you saw this as we did. We were there. The Orthodox Jews hate Christians. They will not, they won't stand within 10 feet of you if they can help it. When we were there, there were times whenever I wanted to speak to one of those guys, and you recognize them because they have that dress on, that garb, and the Orthodox Jews and the men, have that little curl that hangs down both sides of the head. So there were times whenever I would try to, speak. They want nothing to do with you. They hate Christians. Now, not all the Jews in Israel hate Christians, because not all the Jews there are religious Jews. There are those secular Jews. We had a we have your free day. You have a free day there when you're in Jerusalem, and so I got hailed a taxi, and he was taking us to different places where we were wanting to go, and and I was talking with him. He said, "I'm a secular Jew." He said, "I'm not religious. I'm a secular Jew." And I said, "Well, exactly what does that mean?" I knew what he was talking about, but I just want him to, wanted to be sure that I did know. And he said, "Well," he said, my nationality is I'm a Jew. I'm not religious." He said, "I don't have anything to do with the laws of the Old Testament and all those kind of things." He said, by nationality, I'm a Jew. I'm a secular Jew. But he said, I don't believe that Jesus was, I don't have any thought about him at all. I don't know whether he was a promised Messiah or not, because he said, I'm not religious. Now the Orthodox Jews, those who are religious, they despise the Lord Jesus Christ. They hate him. They do not accept him as their Messiah. The leader, the guy that was the leader and the one that took us to all the places and explained the history and all that, told about it. And that guy was well educated, and I mean, he could quote whole chapters of the Old Testament, and when he's telling about the different events and all that stuff. And so I had a chance. He was sitting there on a stone wall one time, so I went over and sat beside him. And I didn't figure I was going to be able to lead him to the Lord, because probably thousands of times over the years there's been Christians that have tried that. But I asked him, I said, a person that is trained and educated, and you can quote whole chapters of the Old Testament, and you told about events, things that took place and all, and I said, it looks to me like that a person as well versed in the Old Testament as you are, that you would recognize that Jesus, the Lord Jesus, fulfilled all of the prophecies about the Messiah. And he said, I don't deny that. I don't deny that. But he said, he's still not our Messiah. I said, why do you say that he's still not your Messiah? He said, our Messiah is going to descend from heaven. When he comes, he's going to descend from heaven. And he's going to set up his kingdom. See, he's talking about the second coming. They don't even have any idea of what's called the church age. They don't see that. And they don't see the tribulation. They see the Messiah coming to set up his kingdom. When he comes, he's going to set up his kingdom. And they said, that's our Messiah. Jesus is not our Messiah. He said, your Jesus was crucified on a cross and put in a grave. I said, yeah, but he came out. He was resurrected. And he said, well, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I don't accept him. So what I'm saying is, the Jews are really the religious Jews. They're really bad people. They're really bad people. Now, I think we ought to, we ought to support them as a nation, and they're being free and all these things. But don't get the idea that Jews are Christians. There are some Jews that are Christians. They're called Messianic Jews. Opportunity, I guess you'd say, of leading two Jewish people. One of them was a Jewish rabbi. That when I was in Tennessee, he lived right behind us in the house we were in. He lived right behind us, and I would go out in the evenings. He'd be out playing with the girl, and I would go out and talk with him, and so eventually I led him to the Lord. He had gone to rabbinical college to study to be a rabbi. But as he became a rabbi, he decided that wasn't what he wanted, so he went back to college and he became an eye doctor. He was an eye specialist, and but because he was because he was a very smart, well-educated man, you know, he could understand the things that I was showing him in the Bible, see how those things could relate to the Lord Jesus, and then especially in Isaiah 53, when I read to him Isaiah 53, and I kept pointing out, this was Jesus, this was Jesus, this was Jesus, and so finally he came to the place where he accepted Christ, and I baptized him. But they're few and far between. There are not a lot of them that believe that Jesus is Messiah. So spiritually speaking, these are not good people. They're not good people. They reject the Lord. Although they're not the ones, but their forefathers are the ones that had him crucified. They're the ones that cried out, "Away with him, let his blood be on us." So, but the Lord is, and see, that's why this purging, and the reason it takes such a long time is because they are so hard, they're so stubborn, and so it's going to take all the suffering they've gone through for these hundreds of years, plus the tribulation, which will be the worst the world's ever known, all the things going on, all the suffering there. But then finally, there's a remnant that's going to be saved. Now you say, how is it during the tribulation? How is it that anybody, much less Jews, how is it that they? And by the way, when it says that all Israel, that just means all the ones that believe in the Lord. There'll still be those that will not accept him as the Messiah, but 1/3 of them will. That's like, and I've often referred to this. In the past, we referred to America as a Christian nation. None of us believed that everybody in America was a Christian. But the predominant thought and teaching and laws of our land all based on Christianity. So when we spoke of it as a Christian nation, we didn't mean that everybody in America was a Christian. And the same when it talks about all Israel, it doesn't mean that every Jew, because see, salvation is an individual thing. A whole nation doesn't get saved. It's an individual thing. Just like a whole, you say, that family's Christian. The mom and dad, they've been in church all their life. They tried to raise the kids in church, but because that family is saved, or you speak of the family as being a Christian family, there's still those that the only way they're going to be saved is individually. They're going to have to do it them personally. My children don't go to heaven because I am. They go because they themselves have been saved. Your children are the same thing. Just because mom and dad's saved doesn't mean that the Christians don't have to be. The children don't have to be. So there will be. How's that going to come about? Well, you remember there's two witnesses. Remember the two witnesses? It talks about in Revelation. And the whole world is going to see them. How is it they're going to see them? Because they're going to be in Jerusalem. How is it they're going to see them? Because of worldwide television. Joey a while ago was talking about satellite TV. Satellite, some of you have, you have that. And so now with that, you don't have to run cable everywhere. They can in these countries where they don't have cable and all that, they can still get TV because those satellites are there. Because everybody in the whole world can get those signals. If you got a got a television set. You remember our missionary brother Rosmundo? He I understand now that they do have electricity at the village they worked in, but at one time, you remember he was talking about they had cell phones, but they were solar powered because they didn't have electricity there to charge them. To charge the phones, they were solar powered, and but yet they can have in a place where they don't even have electricity, they can still have TV because of the solar power, and they can access that transmission from those satellites. So the whole world is going to see that. They're going to see that. They're witnesses, and then remember also there's 144,000 Jews that are going to get saved, and they're going to become witnesses. They'll be preaching the gospel. And then those people that 144,000 reaches, then they're going to become, many of them going to become witnesses. So there's going to be a lot of preaching going on. And there's going to be a lot of people that's going to get saved. A lot of people will be saved during the tribulation period. But it will not be anybody that had an opportunity now in this life, in people that had an opportunity. And as we've heard over and over again, 2/3 of the world has never heard of Jesus, so that'll be people that they will hear, and many of them will get saved. And so then that brings us to the next point: a special destiny. We're talking about here. This is all working toward that special hope, the hope of Israel. One day the purging will be over. The nation will be saved and ushered into the long-awaited, long-promised kingdom, and so then that leads to their special destiny. A special distress demands a special defender. A special defender provides the opportunity for a special deliverance. A special deliverance leads to a special destiny. And the Bible said, many of those that sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, and some to shame and everlasting contempt. That's talking about the climax to the tribulation is resurrection. Resurrection. And so these that get saved and are martyred during the tribulation period, they're going to be resurrected. So what a glorious hope that is. I had a couple more points, but it goes on beyond what we've already seen here. And the main point, the main thing I want to get across to you is that the result of all of this, the result of all the purging, all the judgment, all the wrath that's been conducted against the Jews, the result of all of that is that they turn to their Messiah, and many of them will be saved. Would you stand, please? Your heads bowed. Now, I know for those of you who not usually with us, we just give people an opportunity here to close the service to have a time of prayer. A lot of needs that we've got listed here on our prayer list, and some have mentioned some things tonight to add to it. So we want you to take advantage of this time right now in closing here, and to pray about things that's on your heart. Pray for our service this Sunday. Pray the Lord bless, give us a great day. Pray for the safety of our young people as they come back on Friday. Pray that during the time they're there, they'll see many spiritual victories, and then any needs that you have. If you want to come to the altar, you're welcome to do that. If you'd rather just stay where you are, if you want to be seated and pray, you can do that. So we're going to spend the next few minutes in taking our needs here to the Lord in prayer.